Modern IT operations naturally trend toward chaos. Failing hardware, vendor conflicts, and constant data floods quickly overwhelm organizations. To survive, you must impose strict structure. ISO IEC 20000-1 provides that structure. This architectural framework builds a comprehensive service management system, or SMS, prioritizing organizational governance over technical troubleshooting. The defining feature of the 2018 iteration is its adoption of the high-level structure, formerly known as Annex SL. The standard replaces the heavy, prescriptive documentation of the past with strategic, outcome-oriented governance. This structural shift forces ground-level IT operations to align directly with top-level corporate strategy. This is Figure 1 from the standard. It maps the relationship between governance and operation within a service management system. To understand compliance, you must separate the outer boundaries, the overarching corporate shell, from the specific IT operations inside it. The most effective way to understand this architecture is to tear it down and rebuild it from first principles. We start with a blank slate. By engineering the system layer by layer, the framework reveals exactly why isolated IT processes inevitably fail without a broader governing context. The absolute boundary of the system is established by Clause 4, Context of the Organization. This dictates that leadership must first define the specific internal and external issues relevant to the business. The system must map out the needs and expectations of all interested parties before any technical work begins. These parties range from internal staff relying on daily software access, all the way to external auditors and regulators demanding compliance data. Inside this context sits the structural capstone, Clause 5, Leadership. Top management has a specific mandate here to establish the exact service management policy and objectives. Executives cannot delegate this responsibility entirely to the IT department. They are required to ensure the system integrates directly into the broader business processes of the organization. This mandatory integration prevents the service management system from operating in a silo. It tethers the daily operations of IT directly to the financial and strategic survival of the business. Next, we add the logical layers required to execute that policy, Clause 6, Planning, and Clause 7, Support. These form the upper half of our architecture. This section of the introduction details a major historical shift in the standard, the deliberate reduction of rigid documentation requirements in favor of broader, active planning. Instead of forcing organizations to maintain static, specific documents, like an isolated capacity plan, the standard now requires dynamic actions to address risks and opportunities as they actually arise. Clause 7 acts as the foundation for these plans. It guarantees that the human, technical, and financial resources necessary to operate the system are actively provided by leadership. It mandates that personnel are competent, trained, and fully aware of how their daily tasks impact the overall effectiveness of the services. Together, these layers force an organization to prove it possesses the actual capability to deliver services, rather than just generating compliance paperwork. Now we reach the engine room, Clause 8, Operation of the Service Management System. This is where traditional IT service concepts are executed. We categorize this massive core into distinct sections, starting on the left with the Service Portfolio and Relationship Management modules. Here, the standard introduces a crucial terminology shift to reflect the modern reality of multi-supplier ecosystems. This text shows Clause 8.2.3, Control of parties involved in the service lifecycle. The old concept of an internal group has been completely replaced by the term internal supplier. This clause demands that the organization retains strict accountability for all requirements, regardless of whether a service component is operated by an internal team or outsourced to an external vendor. Moving to the right side of the operational core, we populate the modules for service design, build, and transition, alongside resolution and fulfillment. Notice the strategic separation of incident management from service request management. This separation provides highly granular operational control over unplanned interruptions versus standard user requests. By organizing these processes within the framework, Clause 8 transforms siloed IT tasks into a tightly controlled supply chain, entirely governed by the outer corporate shell. The entire architecture rests on two foundational blocks. Clause 9, performance evaluation, and Clause 10, improvement. Clause 9 establishes a strict regimen of internal audits and management reviews designed to objectively monitor the outputs of the operational core. Clause 10 then handles nonconformity, enforcing corrective actions and driving continual improvement across the system. Data from these foundational blocks doesn't just sit in a report. It must route directly back into the top-level planning and leadership modules. This creates a continuous, self-correcting feedback loop. A service management system is designed to systematically identify its own failures and adapt to them rapidly without ever collapsing. We now have a fully constructed, functional service management system architecture. To see the true strategic advantage, we have to zoom out. Because it utilizes a high-level structure, we can take an identically shaped framework, like ISO 27001, and snap it perfectly next to it. This text from the introduction details how the adoption of the high-level structure enables an organization to align and integrate multiple management system standards seamlessly. Organizations can fuse service delivery, information security, and quality control into a singular, unified management nervous system, eliminating duplicate governance across the business. Under this framework, top-level corporate intent perfectly dictates and restricts ground-level operational actions. Compliance now requires proof of objectives met. The standard focuses on specific outcomes rather than the volume of documentation created during the process. The varied components of IT operations become a complex, multi-part mechanism operating smoothly as a single unit without friction. The ultimate goal remains clear: delivering consistent, agreed-upon value to customers while minimizing risk to the organization. ISO IEC 20000-1 2018 provides the foundational operating system for the modern enterprise.